All right, good evening, MSAD75. Thank you for your patience. The August 13th, 2026 meeting of the Board of Directors will now come to order. Before we begin with roll call, please note that anyone who wishes to speak during public comment tonight is being asked to sign up on the piece of paper on the lectern. Once I have that paper in my hands, we will not be accepting any more signups. And with that, we will do our roll call.
Thank you. William Beatty is absent. Andy Beegan.
Present.
Catherine Brilliant.
Present.
Jessica Damon.
Present.
Tony Gonzalez.
Present.
Gregory Greenleaf.
Present.
Hudson Hayward.
Present.
Mary Hobson. Haley Coulis. Here. Ryan Larson, absent. Joaquin Nernberger.
Present.
Kim Pacelli is absent. Amy Spelke is absent. And Frank Wright.
Present.
Excellent. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Right. Now moving on to item 3, adjustments to the agenda. You will notice a couple items have been added both to the consent agenda and to new business. Other than those currently flagged, I am not aware of any other additions or adjustments. Does anyone else have anything? All right, seeing none, I'd accept a motion to accept those adjustments.
So move.
Moved by Frank, seconded by Gregory. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous of those present. Thank you very much. And with that, move on to item 4, public comment. Thank you, Andy. Tonight we just have one comment, so let's try to keep it to maybe 4 minutes or so. From James Marciano. Come on down. As you walk down, I will sort of say, public comment is governed by policy BEDH. All speakers should begin with their comments with their name and town of residence, and they will address their comments to me as the chair of the board. We have rules of common etiquette and decorum we expect everyone to follow, including that the public may not make personal attacks based on a protected class, make complaints or allegations concerning specific district students, or comment about an employee in either a negative or positive manner. And with that, you may begin.
Thank you, Hudson. I appreciate it. And to all the ladies and gentlemen here at your board tonight. The comment I have.
Can you give us your name and town of residence?
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're all good.
It's James Marciano, 35 Wilderness Lane in Boatingham. Sorry about that. Okay, so we just had our budget and we did our vote in June. And I know in another month or two, you'll be talking about the next budget. And I was going over some of the numbers, and I'm just concerned because we all are here, again, for the young and the kids, but we also have a lot of us who are getting up there in years, because unfortunately I haven't found the fountain of youth yet. So the school for the last 5 years, from 22-23 to 26-27, is running at 24.9 in increases. Yet COLA increases and inflation is running roughly at 23. So right there, you're down, and that's without the towns that they need also. So if we keep running at these numbers, what we're going to do is force all of our young to say, I'm not staying here, I'm leaving, which defeats what we're all trying to do. And our old go back to work until you're off this planet. Instead of thinking, how can we do something out of the box? How can we pay our bills, yet not ask the community for such a burden of these numbers of an average of 5% a year, where we're not able to sustain that. 2 to 3 is tough, but it's fair. So I guess my question is to everyone, and I know everybody here feels the same way because we all have a budget, we all have bills to pay, we all have family and all that. But what can we do? Do we just concede it's because of contracts and staffing, or do we say, okay, let's look at other avenues? We don't want to really lose anybody. We don't want to have the kids get hurt, but do we want to make sure we have the best system for our kids at the best price that our communities can handle without forcing them out of their homes or forcing them out of the state? So I guess with 5 years of this track record and it doesn't seem to be changing. It seems to be like, oh, we need 5% a year on the average and that's it. I'm asking everybody here to consider the kids that you're here for, to stay here in Maine, and for the older that have done the work, built, and still are, to help them out too, so they can manage. Let's get people in these seats. Let's go to them. Let's figure out how the word's got to go out, whether it's community by community, whether it's mailers, whether it's through church. Let's figure that out. Let's come out with a plan. I came from a New York City school district that I can tell you, they had their challenges too. They had about 1,600 children, where I believe we're around 2,300. And they tried very hard year after year not to go above 2 points. Now, was that prior to COVID? Yes, it was. What they're doing today, I honestly am not sure, because I've been retired for the last 4 years. But I gotta believe there's a way for all of us to work together with the other districts, the other towns, and help each other. Just like I spoke a while back about why we charging to use a facility like a ball field. That's already incorporated. Let's figure out how to keep our talented staff, how to get coverage and honor agreements, but yet come up with a plan that we don't have to tell the taxpayers every year, well, inflation's running at 3, but we're going to charge you 5. Doesn't work. And sooner or later, we're going to hit that brick wall like a locomotive. None of you want that. I know it. You all care about this, or you wouldn't be here. All I'm asking is for everybody to go a little bit further and see what you can do to get these numbers more in line. And I don't think it's being unreasonable. And I think you might even start filling these seats once people don't feel so defeated, don't feel like there's no reason to come here. Oh, yeah, they'll let you talk, but we're not going to do anything. This is what we have to pay. This is what we have to do. Buildings are getting older. Houses are getting older. Roofs are getting older. Water heaters are getting older. We all are in the same boat. But we got to figure it out.
Thank you very much.
I would appreciate your time, everyone here, and the hard work you do. I do appreciate it, and I'm sure a lot of other people do also, because you have a real tough job. But again, think about young first, and then the ones who help build it.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Really quickly before you leave, Mr. Marciano, thank you again. And I just want to call to your attention that on Monday, November 9th, you were speaking with me and Jessica earlier, that is the first public budget forum of the budget season. We sort of started before we have any official numbers, before we're talking about the official budgeting, Monday, November 9th at 6 p.m., I believe at the MAMS Learning Commons. The Mount Ararat Middle School Learning Commons, apologies, just next door, down at the middle school. Is where that will be. And that is an event where we try to get members of the public in to talk about known challenges for the coming year, questions for the coming year before we start delving into specific numbers. So we would love to hear from you. We would love to hear from as many people as possible all the time, but especially that night, which is sort of dedicated to that purpose.
November 9th.
November 9th. And if it changes, we will talk about it at a meeting and make sure everybody knows.
God willing, we will all be here.
Exactly. Yes, sir.
Thank you again, everybody.
Have a good night. Thank you. All right, and that ends public comment for tonight. Let me get back to my agenda. All right. Next, we have the item 5, the consent agenda. And before we accept the motion, I just want to let you know preemptively that we're going to pull out item 5. What was it? Sorry, I had it in front of me and then I scrolled like a fool. 5.4.5, the appointment of Caitlin King. We're going to pull that out to be discussed separately after the rest of it. But does anyone else have anything else? Jessica?
Yes, I wanted to know if we could pull out resignations and retirements.
We can pull out anything you want. So which number was that?
I'll tell you. It's 5.3.
The entirety of it?
Well, I had 3 or 4 questions in there. Do you want me to list them off?
If you have sub questions, like if there's sub items, I'm just for the sake of ease, but if you want to pull out the whole thing, that's fine.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't actually note the sub. Hold on, I'll tell you.
Oh, good.
Well, and a couple of them were more generic too.
I would say that if you've got general questions, we could certainly ask them during the superintendent's update as well. If they're about like hiring or the state of things.
Yeah,
We don't necessarily need to
can
do it as
that.
part of
That's
this.
fine.
If that were, again, I'm not trying to
Let me just check my.
make it difficult.
see. Yeah, they're more generic questions. So if we want to do it during Heidi's update.
If you're cool with that, that's what I'd recommend. All right, we've got one item. Anything else? Haley?
I don't know that I need to pull it out, but I just wanted to comment on something in the consent agenda.
Let's pull it out then, because
Okay,
that's how we do it.
5.4.2.
5.4.2 pulled out. Any others? All right, I would accept a motion to accept the consent agenda minus items 5.4.2 and 5.4.5. 2. Yep, I've got it marked. Moved by Gregory, seconded by Frank. I saw you, Mary, but Frank was louder. All those in favor? This is no discussion. That is unanimous of those present, seconded by Frank. Moved by Gregory, seconded by Frank. All right, with that, first we'll move on to item 5.4.2, to consider action to appoint Zoe Ziegler to the position of 6th grade ELA teacher at Mount Ararat Middle School at a salary of $54,398. Is there a motion?
Second.
Moved by Mary, seconded by Haley. Any comments?
Yes, I just wanted to say I worked with Zoe at Bowdoin College, and she's amazing and super sweet. And she's going to be a perfect addition to be at the middle school. So I'm just really excited to see her on the team there.
Huzzah, I love good news. Anyone else? All right, seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is unanimous of those present. Welcome, Zoe. And then item 5.4.5, to consider action to appoint Caitlin King to the position of .2 assistant principal and .8 elementary learning strategist at Woodside Elementary at a salary of $81,217.80. Is there a motion? Moved by Frank, seconded by Mary. Heidi, would you like to say anything, or would anyone else here like to say anything?
I'm going to let Principal Rick Diedick come right up and introduce Caitlin. We've had the pleasure of working with her a little bit this week. And
Fantastic.
we're very excited she's here.
Test this working okay? Well, I'm Rick Diedick, the principal at Woodside Elementary School. As many of you know, our veteran assistant principal, Bridget Ortiz, became the new principal of Harpswell Community School, which opened up our assistant principal position. And I'm really pleased to introduce you to our candidate of choice. So this is Katie King. She is going to serve as our .2 assistant principal, .8 learning strategist. That's just administrator talk for she's hired both as a teacher and as an administrator. The majority of her work will be teaching, but the majority of her support for me will be in administration. Some of you may have seen her around a little bit this summer. She's been proactively spending time with us since July 31st, jumping into our administrative retreats this week and participating in a lot of our programming as we get ready for the start of the school year. Katie is truly a lifelong learner and has been described to me as maybe Augusta's best teacher. She graduated from the University of Maine Farmington as an elementary education major, as a fully certified K-8 teacher with more than a decade as a 5th grade teacher in Augusta. And in Augusta, she took many leadership roles, including working on their MTSS team, that's the multi-tier system of support team in Augusta, the PBIS team, the Positive Behavior Intervention and Supports group. She's done curriculum work, teacher mentoring, and technology mentoring, and of course has continued her own education. She holds a master's degree in curriculum design and instruction from the University of Maine, and she also has a master's degree in school administration from St. Joseph's College. Katie also has some local roots. She grew up just down the road in Lisbon and graduated from St. Dom's High School in Lewiston. She and her husband, Michael, have 2 boys, Leo and Bo, and we're especially pleased to be welcoming their oldest son, Bo, to Woodside in kindergarten this year. And Bo, I believe, will be enrolled in a local Topsom preschool as well. So she's beginning to set up roots in this area. If you happen to see Katie heading out very early tomorrow morning, it's for a good cause. She's going to be in Vermont supporting her husband, Michael, as I think he tackles a 100-mile mountain bike race through gravelly roads and mountainous terrain. So they're adventurers. And as I learned just today, they were engaged in a hot air balloon ride in the mountains of Colorado. So what we're getting when we're getting Katie King is a lifelong learner, a master educator, and an adventurous spirit. And I couldn't be more pleased to welcome her to the MSAD75 community and would like to offer a round of applause for her appointment. And I
Does
just thought I'd
she-
put her on the spot if you had any questions.
Do you ride a unicycle? I feel like it's an important question.
I do not, but I was told I will have to learn.
Anyone have any questions or comments? Well, it sounds like Augusta's loss is our gain. Welcome, Katie. And if there are if you're welcome to say anything if you'd like, but you don't have to. It's always an option. She's good. Well, unless anyone else has any comments, all those in favor, raise your hand. Opposed? That is unanimous. Officially, welcome, Katie. And I turned off my mic, sorry, now it's back on. We're going to move on to item 6, recognitions and acknowledgements. I'm going to start with a sad one. I'd like to observe a moment of silence for Sarah Dayton Merriman, who passed away on July 27th, 2026. Sarah was a member of the class of 1990. Thank you very much. And next, we're going to recognize, mostly so we know her name ahead of time, Ella Cook, a Mount Arad High School class of 2028 student, as the new student representative to the board. So Ella will join Will at our next meeting in September, and we can haze her as we've hazed all of our students, which of course is to say, not at all, because we don't do that. But I'm very excited to have her join us. So yeah. With that, we can move on to item 7, board announcements and correspondence. There are none tonight. Moving on to item 8, reports and presentations. For 8.1, our students are not here, as is typical during the summer months. We will not hear from Will or now Ella at this point in time. Is Mark Hagan here?
I'm not sure where he is. I think I
Um,
might have done 7, so I'm a little-
That's fine. So without objection, I'd like to defer 8.2 until such point as Mark Hagan arrives. If anybody objects, we can have a more official vote, but without objection, I'll defer that until he arrives. That sound good to everybody? Excellent. Thank you all very much. Then we'll move to item 8.3 to hear a report from the superintendent regarding transportation for the fall.
you. Since about March, the transportation department, myself and Evan, who supervises the transportation department as well, have been talking about staffing issues related to drivers. Currently, we are down 7 drivers, and if you remember correctly, we did a couple of things, and I'll get to that in just a few minutes, but let me kind of go over the problem that we are trying to solve. And so I've been working even very diligently this summer to kind of put some things into place, regarding transportation. So we continue to experience some significant difficulty with recruiting and retaining enough licensed school bus drivers to operate all needed routes. We're currently down 7. And I want to emphasize that this really is not an MSAD 75 only problem. This is a statewide, countrywide problem with transportation. Just this past week, Kennebunk was in the news, Kennebunk or Kennebunkport, I can't remember which one it was, talking about the same issues. I know that Biddeford has been posting about transportation there as well. So it is not. Also, in my conversation with bus companies around the state, they are also receiving many requests for drivers to supplement their current staff. So there's some issues, but it's not just simply the number of students that are riding the bus. Route coverage is affected in our district by geography, school start times, and dismissal times. Bus capacity, specialized transportation needs, and the number of licensed drivers that are available each day. And when you have just the right amount of drivers and then you have a few people out sick, then that escalates it to another level. The district has really been less able to, the ability to absorb vacancies through routine route adjustments, meaning that we are looking at all of our routes. So at the beginning of the summer, I think it was even in June, actually, we sent out a survey to all the families. We received about 1,650 of those back. And we've gone through every single route and looked at them, and I'll get to that in just a minute. But our goal really about transportation is to ensure that every required route has safe, dependable coverage while using district resources as efficiently as possible. That's really important. So in order to make sure we've done things, way back in March and maybe even February, we did a referral program. We designed that where we created a financial incentive for anyone in the district who recommended or referred somebody to become a bus driver. And after that person was successfully here for a while, that referral would be getting some supplemental money. I think we said $500, I believe, Evan, if that's correct. And then we also did a $2,500 sign-on bonus for any new driver that signed up to become a driver. So we've done that. We've expanded recruitment, and it's really important to know what we've done in order to to understand where we're going. So Human Resources posted positions on multiple platforms. You'll see it out on Indeed. You'll see it out on the websites, different locations. We posted it on Facebook. We posted it on Job Recruitment. We've done a lot of advertisement by having recruitment signs that have been placed on our district buses. You've seen those before. Sits out on the edge of the road, just really reaching out to potential applicants. We did the Family Transportation Commitment Survey, and we asked families to identify whether or not their children would be able to be planned to use district transportation. So routes could be based on actual anticipated ridership. Interestingly enough, our elementary level decreased, but our high school and middle school increased significantly. So that was interesting. We did a route and stop review, and meaning that transportation staff reviewed routes, stops, capacity, and their school level needs to identify every possible efficiency that we could come up with before considering what I'm going to talk about next. We've been talking about contracting with other bus companies, and we'll talk about that in just a couple minutes. Here's some of the things that the family survey did tell us. We got 1,636 responses. The responses gave the transportation department a really much needed clearer picture of who actually expects to use it. And again, elementary, at the initial analysis, elementary decreased while the middle and high school increased. But because buses and drivers operate across multiple school tiers, reductions at the elementary level, which we could have reduced 4 routes, but we can't because of the timing and because of the high school and middle school runs. And we looked at that very in-depthly to see what we could do. It also allowed us to sort of make targeted route changes, but it did not eliminate the overall driver shortage. Route changes already identified, transportation recognized stops and reviewed which runs could be consolidated without really creating unreasonable schedules or unsafe conditions. And remember, we have a large district going from the end of Bailey Island all the way out close to the Richmond line, out towards Lisbon, and it's big. So for buses, sometimes you're 45 minutes to over an hour, and sometimes a little bit longer on those really outliers. We did remove one elementary run that is associated with Woodside. Tom and his team was able to do that, and they did offset some of the operational impact of losing one driver. So we also looking at our 1 mile walking distance. Right now, we have it so that students who are at the middle and high school level walk 1 mile. And what I asked Tom to do, sorry, Mark is texting.
No, real quickly, and just to clarify, our policy allows us to require that, but our bus stops haven't always necessarily been calibrated at that point. We pick some people up at shorter stop lengths than the minimum.
Yeah.
But our policy allows us to go as far as, and I don't have it in front of me, but certain lengths based on the age of the student, or the school level.
Yeah, so I'll explain that. So it's policy EEA, which currently provides approximately 0.3 miles for kindergarten, 0.5 miles for grades 1 through 5, and 1 mile for grades 6 through 12. And so what we'd like to do is send this policy, or look at it sooner because school is ready to start. There are some exceptions in the policy related to IEP and 504 transportation, documented health conditions, federal or state requirements, hazardous walking conditions. Those are all things that we would look at through that policy, for sure. Maine law says that we do not, Maine law does not establish a statewide 1 mile or 2 mile. It's really up to the school board to make that decision. I did look at all of that information. And so for the eligibility purposes, and I have the legal citations for that. For school administrative district hours, requires transportation for elementary and secondary students for part of or all of the distance to the appropriate school with board approval. So you get to make that decision as a board of how much space. And also for secondary students, actually, the board decides whether or not you're going to provide transportation. Now, again, we have kids in Harpswell, we have kids all over, 4 different towns. It would not be reasonable to not provide some transportation to secondary students as well. We'd like to consider talking about the policy because it does make a significant difference. Let me give you a couple of examples. Always thinking about safety, but if we were to go to a 2-mile standard, for example, right away, just for high school students alone, 36 students from that affected, it removes 36 students, therefore several runs for the bus. If we were to go to secondary and middle school, it's over 80 students, which actually gives us to a more manageable level for, and less in what we are hoping to do with contracting services with a bus company.
And just for clarity on that point, Heidi, contracting a service is much more expensive than what it costs us to own a bus and to pay a driver, correct?
Exactly, correct. Yes.
Sorry, can you, how many, when you include middle and high school, you said 2 miles at the high school is 36, and then you said.
Over 80.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
those are estimates, so don't, it's not set
Okay.
in stone.
Okay.
But that's what our initial analysis is telling us. So really, the policy is a choice to do 1 mile. Did you want to add a?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So the other thing that we've done this week is that we've done some market research with transportation providers, and we had a set of questions that each of my staff members had in order to call these companies to see if we would even be able to contract with them, because there are, again, a lot of people are in the same boat. And so the preliminary market research with this is that multiple transportation companies may be able to provide our services for us, and that would mean that they would provide drivers and they would use our buses. And so if they were to say, the first question is can you actually say to us that you could provide any drivers? And I'm just paraphrasing that, Evan. So if you were able to provide, and they're like, there's absolutely no way, we didn't even ask them any more questions. So then we really are exploring, pricing, service models, driver availability, geographic limitations. For example, geographic limitation is one bus company can't find any drivers in the state of Maine and therefore would have to go outside of Maine, bringing in drivers from out of the state, which would cost a significant amount more money. We know that. One of the companies that we had talked with gave us some preliminary preliminary cost range, and it's estimated, let me just give you an example. If we were to hire 4 drivers from them, a low estimate would be $612,000, while a high estimate would be $720,000. It's unbelievable. It's $800 to $1,000 a day. Evan is here, and if I make sure I say this correctly, Evan, but we currently have approximately $477.72 budgeted for vacancies in transportations that can help offset a contract if we needed to go in that direction. So that means that we would have to, if we were to go with that specific company, we do have to put it out to bid. But if we were to go with that specific company and that was the number that came in, we would have to find approximately $150,000 to $260,000 to cover buses. So really the final cost is going to depend on the number of routes that remain uncovered and the results of the formal procurement process. Haley.
I'm sure it's something you've looked at, but if you're looking at prices like that, would it make sense to up the base rate that we're putting out to potential bus drivers coming in?
It is a contract issue if we do that.
Oh.
So doesn't mean we can't look into it, but we would have to negotiate the contract.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you remember, I think we We've done that a couple of times already, plus we did offer a $2,500 sign-on bonus, and so we've looked at all that. At one point in the time, we also did, I can't remember if it was $100 a day for not missing any days. Our drivers don't miss days, just so you know.
Yeah.
They are here. It's very rare because they know exactly the things. So we have to put this out to bid as a part of the contracting process. We do know that there are several bus companies. We researched all that. We've gotten information from them. We'll create a bid if we decide this is a direction we need to move forward. But we, at the same time, we're continuing recruiting district drivers. We have 2 people in the pipeline. They won't be ready to go on the road until October. So that leaves those 2 routes unfilled until that point. They can drive vans, but they can't drive school buses. School bus drivers training is extremely difficult. It's very long. It takes almost a year to get a CDL. And so it's not an easy certificate or license to get. And that is one of the problems. We do support them when they're applying for our jobs. We'll help them to get there. We're going to continue to do this route analysis. If we change to a different length of, that students can walk, that will help us significantly. Tom is not here this week, but we are continuing to work on this. And once we decide if we want to go from 1 mile to 2 miles and look at that, we don't have a lot of time to look at this because school is going to start.
Yeah, I have a thought on that, which is I think that Tom and the Transportation Committee should try to meet in the next week or 2 to go over that. And I would recommend getting some comparable policies from similar districts in our area to look at. And then, the policy committee could look at the recommendations that come out of that. Knowing that we need to try to move a little bit faster, that could be something where we try to, present to the board, and the board acknowledges that this is the direction we're going and authorizes a change that's beyond the scope of policy for the brief window until it's updated, if that's the route we go. But I would say that since we have a transportation committee, that group is probably best suited to hammer through the details and do that analysis. And even if the policy committee's got to tune up the language, the sort of the constructive work happening there, I think makes the most sense. And if anyone has any thoughts on that, obviously everyone's allowed to have an opinion, but that would be my proposal, at least from a starting perspective.
Thank you. We will definitely do that. So again, we're going to continue to do the route analysis. We're going to refer policy EEA, and we'll do that at the Transportation Committee next week. We'll try to get everybody together. We will get everybody together. We're going to continue to preserve those appropriate exceptions, which are students that have IEPs and 504 requirements, any health needs or any hazardous walking conditions, meeting all the state and federal requirements, and any other justified exception that we need to look at. We're going to continue to use market research to develop our specifications. We're defining routes and all of that. And then if we decide to, I don't know if we won't be able to go, if we will not be able to go out to contract bidding, because I'm not sure we're going to get 7 drivers in the next few weeks.
At least getting having the process under, even if we need to approve something later, getting the process going, I think is smart, so we have our options available to us.
Yes, exactly.
For anyone on the board who doesn't know this, or anyone listening at home who doesn't know this, the current Transportation Committee began as an ad hoc committee looking at this very question. Was it 5 years ago, 6 years ago? It was before I was on the board, which is why my sense of the date is a little fuzzy, but it began with the question of, do we need to update our minimum walking distances? And at the time, the determination was no, we did not.
Yeah.
So it's something we've looked at before, so it's absolutely appropriate to look at it again, especially in this circumstance.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
I just want to make sure that people know, the suggestion might come, well, can't you use vans, or can't you use the smaller buses? Even the smaller buses require a CDL, but vans, it's not allowed because they're not safe like they are like school buses.
Yeah.
The state really does not allow that, and there is a law around it, but I can't remember what the title is.
It's a very small amount of occupancy that is allowed in a van, right?
Yes, exactly. So
How is it then that we can use them for students with IEPs and special needs?
So we use them with it has to have a very low amount of students in there. So we couldn't put a whole bunch of kids into one van in order to drive them. And
So if the max cap is lower than efficiency would.
Correct, exactly. It's like you'd essentially be creating taxis,
Yeah.
like at the
Exactly. And we do have a lot of vans that go a lot of out of district placements. In district, some kids require van service. So Joaquin.
Oh, sorry, Joaquin, I did not mean to.
That's okay. Would that be a 2 mile radius or would that be a 2 mile walking distance?
It would be a 2 mile walking distance. So you'd measure what the
calculate
road.
path, the expected path the child would take, and it would be up to 2 miles.
I believe that is, again, I don't want to
Not that you
overspeak, but I
lived in a
believe that would
2 mile
be the
radius,
case.
but you could be walking up to 3 because of the route you have.
Correct. I think we'd want to look at what the walk is.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have to look at all of those pieces
And-
because, yeah.
And questions that come into place, is there a sidewalk? How safe is the walking? Like that's a factor as well, obviously. And that was a big part of the conversation several years ago. I know you were there for that, Mary, and you, Frank. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's complicated, I'll just say it's a complicated issue because, it seems like pretty cut and dry, the policy, but when you actually look at all of the individual stories behind each of the things, it gets thorny because different neighborhoods look different and different roads look different in terms of busyness and everything else, and it gets complicated. It's the
Yeah.
thing.
I also want to make sure to mention that, some people, what we discovered through the audit of all of the requests for transportation is that kids sometimes will jump different buses and parents will request, oh, can you drop my kid off here? Can you drop my kid off there? Can I have this kid? We can't do that right now. We will reevaluate this at the end of September, early October to see where we're at, but we are going to be very strict on who can jump on which bus this year because we don't have any other options.
Some thoughts that come to my mind, and these are random thoughts that you can take to Tom and they can talk with the transportation department, are one, making it easier for particularly high school students, but including middle school students, to take the late bus, right? If we increase our late bus runs and have more students on them, that's less pressure in the afternoon for the regular runs. And so
That's actually a really good point.
I mean, I think there are a lot of students that might stay behind to do homework here in a classroom or go for a walk through town and come back to go home. Like I just think that's worth considering, right? Again, I'm not saying that is the solution, something to consider. And if there were any conversations with any of our neighboring districts, maybe this is an Evan question, like, Richmond or Brunswick about trying to collaborate on any runs that are, the Venn diagram overlaps a little bit and is there any room for us to collaborate? I don't know, but it's something I would encourage us to try to think about. Yeah, there's some thoughts that come to mind, but I think this is a good creative thinking opportunity for everybody,
Sure.
particularly the transportation committee. So if we can get that committee to meet, I think that would be great. And then again, any interested board members could obviously, whether or not you're on the committee, you can show up and participate.
That's very good, Hudson. I like that idea very much. And so just in closing, so I just want to reemphasize that.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I think that's really, really critical that you define how this radius or route is going to work, because that's going to create a huge problem for individual people. So the definition of how you're going to describe that, I think, is really important.
Yeah, that's a very good point. One other thought I had that I forgot, sorry, and this is maybe school-based work. But if we're in this much of a pinch, if there are ways that we can help connect parents for rideshare opportunities, right? Like a parent who drives their student to the middle school every morning as they're driving to work, well, they've got 3 other seats in their car. Can they connect with some other parents to make that happen and alleviate some of that pressure? And so if we can connect people appropriately, that might help. Again, it sounds like every inch matters, right? And that's a way that we might be able to help with some of that.
Yeah,
So just another thought off the dome.
perfect. I love it. Okay, so just really, I want to make sure, we are looking very seriously into contracting. We've had multiple conversations, but we do have to follow the law by putting out our bid for that. We have done recruiting, we've offered incentives, we've surveyed families, analyzed over 1,600 responses, rebuilt routes, reviewed stops, examined walking distance policies, conducted market research, and with multiple transportation providers. And these efforts really have reduced some of the problem, but they're not solving the whole driver shortage at this point. And so the next step is really to finish our route and policy work, use this market research to conduct the procurement process, and then return to the board with the most responsible option for ensuring safe and dependable transportation. And now I defer to you for questions.
Any further questions or comments for Heidi? Well, I'll also thank you, Evan, and please relay our thanks to Tom. I know this is incredibly challenging and it's got to make for a stressful problem this summer, especially with the end of August bearing down upon us.
Yeah, they've definitely been working hard, and I do need to give a shout out to Katie Good, who is working on the route reorganization. She has put in hours and hours and hours, and that's a very specific skill set to have, to be able to look at routes and know how to line them all up so nobody's left behind. So I really am proud of the work she's also done.
Awesome. Yes, I saw. Okay, well then, if there are no more questions for Heidi about that, we're going to move back to item 8.2 and hear a report from Chief Mark Hagan of the Topsom Police Department regarding the LEAD program, which is this the third year we're going into that we've done it? Excellent. My memory is not gone yet.
And it's my fault Mark was late because I told him 7:15, so he's really not late.
He is
So
right
I
on
don't think
time and
I'm
we are good.
late, But took me a while to come down from there, but I don't fit into the chairs with all my gear, or at least that's my excuse for why I'm not fitting into the chairs here. So good evening to everybody. I'm not sure how often you all turn over. There's turnover here. So for people that may not be aware, 2 years ago, 2 school years ago, we started teaching the LEAD program, which is Law Enforcement Against Drug Program. So we started 2 years ago. The first year was a 10-week program. Heidi, I guess I should ask you, did everybody get my memo? I don't want to, okay. So you've all read it. So the first year was the 10-week program. After the first year, the program was, what I'd like to say, is pretty successful. So we talked to the school about adding the Law Enforcement Against Violence program. And we went forward with that last year, which added 5 more weeks to the program. So last year was the first year that we had done the 15-week program. And what happened at the end of the year is the LEAD program no longer has a contract with the Mendez Foundation. The Mendez Foundation was the actual program that we were teaching. And they moved on to what is known as the Botvin Life Skills Training Program. I gotta be honest, other than what we were taught at the instructor program, I don't know much about Dr. Gilbert Botvin, but people at the training seemed pretty excited about it. They seemed to know who he was. So as you've read in the memo, there's a lot of documented evidence, scientific validation that they're saying shows that it's effective in reducing drug and alcohol and violence. The biggest difference, actually, while I'm talking to you, I had hoped that we would be able to have, I ordered the student workbooks. I was hoping they would be in so that I could actually give you all the student workbooks for those students, see what the kids would be looking at. Unfortunately, they didn't come in. They gave us one at the training. So if anybody wants to see what the students actually will be using, the book that I just handed over, anybody's welcome to look at it here. But the only real, if you look at the topics that we'll be covering this year, they're the same topics that we covered the first 2 years with the different program. The difference is in the way the program is done. The first 2 years with the Mendez Foundation program, they wanted us to teach the program verbatim. So we sat there with the instructor book, and it was important to them that every student across the country heard the same exact training curriculum. So we read everything verbatim. Got to be honest with you, it was a lot easier on us as instructors because we showed up and we were able to go through everything. With the Botvin program, the big difference here is that it is not mandated that we don't have a curriculum, we don't have a mandated verbatim plan that we have to read. So the students won't notice anything different because we're going to be talking about the same topics. It's harder on the instructors because now instead of just showing up and having something and all I have to do is read it, it's going to be more preparation for us in just being prepared for the class. And in the first, with Mendez, it was a 50-minute program. It's 45 minutes in this Botvin program, which is actually easier on us because the class is 50 minutes, but by the time the kids get there, sit down, and we have everything ready to go, we've already lost 5 or 10 minutes every program. So that's really, from what I can tell by looking through everything, The only big difference that people will see in the program, it has been, we've been very happy with it. It's, I don't know, from somebody that never taught DARE when I was a younger officer, I'm teaching it with SRO Matthew and sometimes Garber, although sometimes he can be more of a distraction than a help during the class. But we've been, he hasn't come to a meeting? He'll disrupt it. You're gonna need a longer period of time. He's gonna walk around, everybody's gonna be petting him, nobody's gonna be paying attention here. So yeah, I don't think, to be honest, I think it'll be a better program because we'll have more time just to talk to the kids. We were a little rushed with some of the games and so forth that they had in the Mendez program. So it'll be a little harder on us to be prepared ahead of time, but I think the kids will get more interaction with us. And sometimes the kids had a lot of questions, which for law enforcement, not necessarily related to the classes. And we tried to put aside a few minutes so we could answer a couple questions every class because the kids just are curious about it, about what we do and so forth. So we tried to find some time. This will give us a few more minutes and we can talk a little more, be a little more interactive during the class. I don't know if anybody had questions for me about how we would go about it or.
Right over here, I think Gregory's getting his mic ready.
I was just wondering what your favorite lesson, which lesson you look forward to teaching and why?
Out of all of them, I think it was the first lesson in the Mendez, which will also be the first lesson here, which is about goal setting. And also it deals with how do you see yourself? People, especially children, how they see the world is because of directly related to how they see themselves. And I'm probably not telling you anything you don't know. So if they feel bad about themselves, they're going to, feel negatively about everything that's going on around them. So I was surprised in the first 2 years when we teach this, how many kids, we go over goal setting as an example. We start asking them about, what do you like about yourself? And a lot of kids don't want to interact, but in the workbooks, they can write things down. And we would talk about, how do you see yourself? How do you see different things? Do you think you're a good student? All these things. And we don't read them and we don't make anybody raise their hand if they don't want to. You probably won't be surprised. There's a group of kids that want to raise their hand and talk most of the class. And then there's a larger group of kids that don't want to really share. So we don't make anybody, but I was a little surprised at how many kids have never really maybe talked with their parents or somebody about goal setting and just, some of the topics about how to achieve goals. How do you see yourself? Yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. There's a lot of things that you would think a lot of parents or somebody would talk to children about as they get older. And we're hitting people in 7th grade. And disappointingly, we're finding out from the class that a lot of people aren't talking to their kids about these things. So I'm not saying we can change the world in 45 minutes doing all these classes, but we do introduce the kids to a lot of things that nobody's really talked to them about before.
Mary?
I just wanted to sort of just inform that this is funded by it's not funded by the school budget. This is funded from the.
No, it's been.
Right.
It's been.
Right. I remember, I just thought I'd throw that out there because I remember that being a huge thing when you first started, like you guys were offering to do this, and it wasn't included in our budget. It was in your budget, which is great.
Yeah, we've received some assistance along the way, but
Yeah.
it's more time than it is buying the books for us. But
Yeah.
I think it's important enough that even, I'm helping teach it. It's an important class. It's an
Right.
important program.
And the other thing is how many officers are involved in the teaching, come in and actually do these classes?
Initially, it was 3. It was myself, Officer Matthew, and Officer Sampson. Because of the way our schedule works, she's working nights a lot, and she doesn't make it to a lot of the classes because of her schedule and some other duties. She didn't make it to the instructor class. So right now, to start the year, it'll just be Officer Matthew and myself. We're going through a little bit of a rebuilding program at the PD. We've had to hire a lot of officers. So we're going to have hopefully by spring, 5 more officers on the PD. We've been running a little short. And once they learn how to be patrol officers first, then I want to put it out and see if any more want to help us out, because it would be nice to have a little more assistance with the class.
Right.
It does take some time.
Do you look forward? I was, I wondered how, I mean, I'm a teacher, trained teacher, but you guys are not necessarily teachers. Is it something that you feel like you look forward to, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
to be honest, we don't need to do this. It's coming
Yeah.
out of our budget. I got other things I could spend the money on. I think it's important enough, especially with what I was just talking about. We're talking to kids that haven't talked to anybody about this.
Right.
And what I tell people, especially our new hires, is we spend 90% of our time with the same 10% of the public, generally speaking. And most of the people that we deal with on a weekly basis simply just don't know how to help themselves because they've never learned that. And people take that, I think, as a given,
Yeah.
and it's not.
Right.
And so this is a chance for us to get in there and build some relationships, and maybe, if nothing else, teach them a little, but also build some relationships so they're more comfortable talking to us.
Very good. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Jessica?
Yes, I agree with that. And thank you for saying that, because I was reading, and maybe as a question to Heidi now or later, about this particular program you're transitioning over to, the Botman program, that some districts are shifting away from police-led trainings and looking at it more as a matter of public health and hiring teachers on for it. But me personally, I want to put a plug in to start saying, thank you for doing this. Thank you for budgeting it. Thank you for prioritizing it. And thank you for executing it, because I think it's really important that young people see police in a good light.
Yeah.
So
thank
I want to just say that publicly. And secondly, thank you for bringing the book in, because I looked to find it online and they don't let you click on it, so I couldn't open it.
I ran into the same thing, Jessica.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
Shocker.
So I appreciate looking through it. I mean, at a quick glance, it looks pretty good. I think that was the extent of my comments. I have other questions for Heidi, but yeah, thanks again.
Haley?
I kind of want to piggyback off what Jessica said, and I think it's really important that you all as police officers teach this, because there's just something about firsthand experience and sharing your firsthand experience, which I know in the past it doesn't seem like you were able to as much as maybe you could with this new training program. But I think it's really, I think that teachers may not have lived a life where they have seen, the detrimental effects of drugs and alcohol. And I think that's the best way to be able to teach kids and show them, the downsides of using that. Because the biggest thing I've learned in my life is that having that kind of experience is the best way to avoid using it in the future. A lot of people in my family are recovered addicts, and that's the reason why I never touch this stuff. And I think it's just so important to have firsthand experience, have real life lessons. And I don't think that all teachers have the experience to be able to share that with kids. So I think it's amazing what you're doing. I think we should even start earlier, but that's not up to me. So
One step at a time.
yeah, one step at a time. I think it's great. And I wanted to thank you guys, because it's just amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
To be honest, I would like to start earlier. They have an actual different program for each grade, pretty much. And initially, I wanted to start in the 4th grade and then the 7th grade. So they'd see us, get a few years, and then see us again. I just don't have the people.
Yeah.
And I was surprised when we started doing it, just how much time it takes. And
I'm sure.
people do want me to do a couple other things during the week.
Well.
Right now, for 2 days a week, which is what it takes us, 2 mornings a week to do it. It's been a good program. So I'll get back to you on that.
Once you have-
If your capacity ever changes, come talk to us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
that'd be great.
And the stories last year, the kids started to ask me, because I told a couple stories and I tried to make them somewhat funny. And so then the next thing you know, it was like every week they wanted to ask, but a lot of my stories aren't funny. So I don't tell those, but we try to gloss over some of the stuff, but yeah,
Well, thank you.
you're welcome.
Awesome. Anyone else, any questions, any concerns, anything, comments for Chief Hagan?
I actually want to speak to it because, Chief Hagan, we have a really good relationship with the Topsom Police Department and our local emergency responders. They work, Mark and his team come to our district safety meetings. They're well involved. They know all of the details. They're out in our schools. They're talking to the principals. So it's really kudos to them because Mark is really supportive of a more community-based law enforcement structure, I guess is how you would say it. And we're thankful that we have those good relationships because anytime that there is a situation, we know we can count on them. They're there. I can call them. We have those conversations and it goes both ways. So I just want to say thank you for all you do, Mark.
Thank you.
Here to that. Well, it sounds like Chief Hagan, you're good. It sounds like Jessica, you maybe had a couple questions for Heidi. And before we get to that, what I was just going to say is, since this is a revised curriculum, I do think we should vote on this. I did not put that on the agenda for tonight. So what I'm going to propose we do is we put it on the September 9th agenda, but our discussion time for that is now while we're all here, right? This is essentially our little CIA conversation about it. So let's ask our questions so we're prepared to vote at our next meeting in that regard. So Jessica, if you've got questions for Heidi, go nuts.
Yeah,
Feel free to sit down if you'd like, Chief Hagan. You don't
I
have to.
can't though.
Oh, that's right, you can't.
Cheers.
Then you're stuck right there. I take it
I
back.
did all day. So
You can lean forward. How about that? Sorry about that. No, that's right. Jessica.
This might help actually lead into that conversation too. Again, I was reading about this earlier, Heidi, and a lot of overlap with social emotional learning with the BOTVIN program. And some of what I read was saying that it will help or it helps other districts that have used it to meet certain health mandates and emotional wellness initiatives. So I wanted to throw that out there. I wanted to say that perhaps it's, as we approach budget season, if there's a health component that might be fulfilled, even if it's, year to year or as the PD deems they can resource it, that might be perhaps a shift in health courses. I don't know. And then what was the other piece of that? Nope, I think that's it. Thank you.
Anyone else, any questions for Heidi or the administration about the curriculum or the teaching thereof? Everyone feel comfortable coming back September 10th? Oh, Mr. Dudek.
In that timing probably is the major issue, but Katie, I was just wondering if we could consult with you at some point, maybe look at what a partnership could be for a younger grade, even if it was more like school staff teaching, but inviting law enforcement in for a couple of visits, just as a pilot. And if the school board was, supportive of that, or Heidi was supportive of that, I think we would all agree that they don't have better connections to law enforcement would be great for students. So I just wanted to put it out there. If you're open to do some creative thinking about it, we'd love to talk with you.
No, that'd be great. In fact, at the instructor program, there's a lot of teachers there. Some of the schools do it, combined. And this Mrs. Rio, Miss St. John couldn't come down for this training in particular, but they went to the first training because we hosted it right here in Topsom. So no, it can be just run by teachers. I do like the pairing off, and I'd be more than happy to talk to you offline about going further with it.
And if that's fruitful, we want to do a pilot. I think the board would love to hear about it and give you guys a thumbs up. Thank you. Anyone else? Any comments? Cool. So let's be prepared to, oh, sorry. I looked to the left too fast.
It's okay. Just include Williams Cone School too, please.
Excellent. Great. So everyone just be prepared to vote on this curriculum on September 10th. And who may have a pilot coming soon after, who knows? But thank you all very much. Chief Hagan, thank you so much for coming out with us today.
Thank you.
We'd love to see you.
Appreciate it.
Even if you don't bring a certain deputy with you. Thank you. Oh, sure. I'm going to keep mine. Awesome.
Thank you.
All righty, we're going to move on to item 9, the superintendent's report. Heidi, I don't know if you have anything you want to add beyond what you did.
I really do, because I know that was all about transportation, but we've had a wonderful start to the week. for our administrators this week. And I really think it's important to talk about that because there's a lot of prep going into the start of school. So our principals and directors returned this week to kick off the new school year. So about 12 of us went to an invaluable training on school investigations hosted by the Maine School Management Association. And it was incredible. And so everybody went to that, and it's just really good to have everybody on the same page. This week, we've also been meeting with Kate McLeod and Jess Apgar, who are our consultants that are helping work on our inclusion focus. And we've gotten a lot of training and connectedness with them. It was nice to have everybody in the same room, hearing the same things while we're continuing to work on our district-wide inclusivity. And I just am so impressed and so proud of everybody that is working on this. We did something a little bit different this year. And normally we will spend 2 or 3 days in this room just talking and going over everything. But we kind of broke it up. And so what we did yesterday morning, I think it was, yesterday morning, we had, I had all the administrators read a book called Coffee with the Custodian. If you haven't read that, it's a wonderful read. And then we had our meaningful discussion over coffee in downtown Brunswick to talk about our book and all the leadership things that we're going to be doing this year. And it was amazing. We also had our big first, what we're going to call a business meeting, where we talked about the focusing of our operations and streamlining those to make sure that our systems are really directly supporting strong outcomes for students. That's really important. So normally we would have our principals council and our district leadership team, and we'd all meet in one thing and we talk about all kinds of other things. But we've separated that this year and really talked about system efficiency and moving that forward. So really behind the scenes, I also want to give a big shout out because in the summertime, people are still working. Our facilities and custodial teams have been working diligently all summer, cleaning, painting, and maintaining our grounds to ensure that our schools are nice and bright for when and safe for when ready for students to come back in just a few weeks. So I just want to say thank you to everyone working hard to prepare for a successful school year. I can't believe this is my year number 4.
I know, it's crazy how fast it goes. I will say, as I was walking in with Evan, I noticed freshly painted lines in the parking lot here, so bravo. And am I correct in thinking that the teachers start the week after next? Is that right? A little less than 2 weeks.
Yes,
Is like Tuesday they come in?
come back. Teachers will come back on the 25th
Great.
and we'll start in their schools and doing a bunch of activities. And then on the 27th this year, normally we would start the first day in the same place at the middle school, but we are doing something wicked different this year.
Ooh,
Everybody to
I can't wait to hear about it in September.
Board is always welcome to come on the 27th. We're going to be starting here in the gym at 8 o'clock sharp. People cannot be late because the timing is set right on target. You cannot be late.
Don't be late.
And so I'm excited to share what's going to happen that day.
Very exciting. And I would like to reiterate your incredible saluting and thanks to the district staff that have been working all summer. And I know that we're sort of the ramping curve is getting steep as we are 3 weeks away from students returning to school. So I know everyone is busting their butts right now. And I want to reiterate, thank you to everybody who's there doing all that.
Am I on now? Oh, there we go. As part of the superintendent's report, Evan is here to talk about the financials, and he has worked really hard to get this in to give you guys the update tonight. So once you're done, Evan, I don't think you have anything else. You can probably head home.
If we want to talk about the leases.
Oh, yeah.
That we'll be able to get committee reports, and that's, I think, the first item of business.
Okay.
We'll get you through fast.
Perfect. Might be one other thing too, but I appreciate that. Okay, so end of June, which is the end of the fiscal year, by my unaudited numbers that I spent a lot of time working on the last week and a half, I'm showing that we're adding to our fund balance $805,000, $805,829 to be specific. Which is really great. There are definitely some areas where we were better at budgeting this past budget cycle that will be reflected next year. For example, professional development, course reimbursement, that stuff. Course reimbursement particularly was showing over budget by $93,000. That's because the right object codes weren't put into the budget, but for next year they were, or this current year they were, so that should be better next year. Same with a little bit of the additional overtime pay. Some of that stuff was not quite where it needed to be for our district, but overall, we ended with our total personnel costs 97% expended, which is really good. Our total contracted services, this is the one category where we were over budget, and this has a really good explanation. So if you go up to regular staff salaries, which is the top line, we had a remaining budget of $745,000, but our contracted services were over by 767. A lot of this is due to special ed positions that can't be filled throughout the year, but we need people in those positions. Those are psychologists, speech therapists, OT, PT, those kind of hard to fill specialist roles. I'll also include our BCBAs, which is the Board Certified Behavior Analyst, I think is the acronym. Those positions we absolutely need filled with our for special ed programming, and we have to contract out with outside services to be able to get those students the services they need. So those basically even out almost one for one. The contract services were a little bit higher just because, you know, they do charge a premium to be in here. So that's one area that we hope to make a better impact on this year. We've hired 2 school psychologists already for this year and a BCBA, and those are the 3 high ticket, high cost contracted services folks that we could be hiring from outside, but we're going to be hiring them internally this year, which is great. And then, yeah, overall, really, I think this is a really good budget outcome because we didn't have a crazy amount of excess carryover. So that means that the taxpayers, in my opinion, got a good deal. I know that's a little bit strange to say, but we didn't overtax folks. Yet we still are putting money back into our checking account to be used for a later date.
I was going to make a very similar comment, which is we've seen our contributions to the fund balance go down, which is great because it means we're budgeting accurately, you know, we're budgeting appropriately. It does mean there's less for us to borrow from when we're trying to defray it at the other side, but I think that's the right place to be in. And I think that's the work that you've been doing, Evan, and with Heidi and the rest of the team, obviously, but I'm really grateful for that.
Yep. So that's the overall picture of it. Pages 1 and 2 of the report are pretty similar to what you see every month. Page 3 is the detail by warrant. You can see that all those numbers match up. It's just broken out differently by, you know, the different warrants that the expenditures are categorized in. Yeah, not too much really to say here, but it does provide a different view. In previous years, we've done reconciliations to make sure that the warrants that are overspent versus warrants that are underspent kind of equal out in some capacity. I haven't seen as much guidance from our auditors in the past couple years about doing those reconciliations. So I do have a question out with them about should we be doing that? And if they do recommend that we reconcile those warrants to be not overspent, the ones that are, I can come to the board with a budget transfer request for the
whatever
meeting
adjustment we need to be.
Whatever
That seems pretty
adjustment we
reasonable.
need.
And you bring up what my next question was going to be, Evan. How's our audit doing?
So they're definitely asking lots of questions. They're definitely digging into our books. I wouldn't say we're particularly close to finishing just yet, but you know, audits of $61 million. We have close to 45 different funds that we use. We have enterprise accounts. That would be like the Orion. We have food service, which is a totally different program. We have federal grants. They take a lot of time to go through all those programs. So I'm definitely in communication with them every day, and it is ongoing, but I still have hope that we'll be caught up by the end of this.
I was going to say, so they're doing fiscal 25 right now, and I think stop me if I'm misrepresenting what you and I have spoken about, but we have every reason to expect we'll be caught up with fiscal 26 before the end of our budget season.
Yeah, they still have plans to roll right into 26.
Love it.
Because they're doing all of their 26 clients right now, and they just want to roll us into 26 right afterwards, so that when June of this coming year comes around, they can
ready.
get us on the same schedule as all the rest of their clients. Well,
We'd love it too.
right, exactly. So I've been indicating that to them, like, hey, let's get on this similar schedule. This is our goal. This is our timeline, and they don't seem to have any kind of issue with meeting that goal.
I want to recognize too that they've been extremely responsive to any questions.
Fantastic.
Right there, there's no delay in getting answers from them. And we've been able to provide the necessary information that they've needed to keep things moving forward.
Yeah, and one of the efficiencies we started doing in this last year was we gave them read-only access into our financial software, so that would speed up processes. You know, they don't have to be on site for everything to look through our documents. They can look through with read only. They can't edit anything. All of that access to be able to speed up the process just a tiny bit.
That's great. That's super great. Are there any questions for Evan about either the audit or the financial report? All right, I think you're good. Now, we're not done with you yet, Heidi, though, because I know Jessica had some questions regarding some other stuff, some resignations and retirements, I believe. I'm here for you, Jessica. You don't have to worry.
You have a better memory than me. And sorry, I'm talking so much tonight. Let's see. So they were more general questions about like, how do we have a 0.2 FTE and a 0.8? I know Rick said that's kind of an administrative thing, but can you just give me like the lay per?
Sure. It's been I haven't dug down deep into the rationale as to why that was originally designed that way, but I think way back, I remember what happened is we had a special education, because all of the special education students was like the hub at Woodside. So we had to have, for meetings and a variety of things, they decided that they needed an assistant principal level to help to support all those needs. So this has been a long established position in the budget for many years, as far back as even when I was just a teacher here and when my kids went to school.
And Heidi, stop me if I'm wrong, but the idea sort of is like that position spends 20 of its time on administrative duties supporting the principal and 80% of its time supporting students as a teacher.
Yeah, and correct. And exactly that. Woodside was the largest number of students in the district at the time and still is. So it really does warrant that level of support. Now, I would say without saying that there is a lot of administrative support that goes even higher than 0.2%. So we're getting our money's worth.
Okay, thank you. And then when we have a job description change for an FTE, like moving staff from one school to another or changing roles, how does that work with respect to employees' contracts?
I guess I need a little bit. What do you mean?
Well, I mean, so taking a step back, if there's still a teacher, if it's a teacher position to a teacher position, the contract is unchanged, right? Like it's like moving from, fifth grade at Woodside to fifth grade at Bodenham, contract's the same. Same thing across positions, as long as it's still within the teacher contract. Now, if they wanted to move to a support staff position, I think the hiring process would be different, because essentially be resigning out of one contracted bucket and hiring into another. But if they're within the contract's roles, I think the change is essentially minimal.
And are you speaking specifically about the transfers is what you're looking at? Is that
Yeah,
what
I
bringing
just
this
noticed
up?
there were a few changes
Yeah,
on the
so-
agenda to people's,
The job descriptions is separate. We've been working on job descriptions over the last year to make them align to the things that we're actually doing and bring them into current times, if you will. Transfers happen when a person wants to transfer into a position and they already work for us. We're able to transfer them in. Sometimes they go through the interview process because we have more than one person that's interested in it. We don't normally put them on the
You did that.
Oh, okay. I was like, what? So normally we don't even put them on the board agenda, but I wanted to put them on there so that we could really keep a track of who's going where. So
And that's why those are
really-
acknowledgements, because
They're
it's not
just
new.
acknowledgements. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
not new hires.
Yep.
They, like if I don't want to be a second grade teacher anymore, I want to transfer into becoming a fifth grade teacher. A lot of that happens.
Yep.
Or with the new changes in interventionists, we have people that are transferring into the interventionist positions. And so there's movement within the district because people are growing in different areas.
Okay, thank you. And my final one is about the tech ones that we looked at. First question is tier 1 and 2 support were called out in the tech support job description. Is that an MTSS reference?
No, those are,
so.
An IT term.
It's
So
an
tier
IT
one,
term.
something like a help desk, tier
Okay.
one, help
Yeah.
desk.
That's what I thought. I just want to clarify.
Yeah, that's a good question.
MTSS on the brain. And then I just wanted to say and wonder if, our IT department, are they undergoing any training? Are we supporting, as a district, supporting training for them as far as AI? I know that's a very broad thing, but AI is
Yeah.
happening very fast right now.
So we have a technology, is it JT?
I think it's the task group or working group or something like that.
Yeah, the task force that's working on all of that kind of stuff and developing a strategic plan, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on that committee, so I can
Yeah.
speak to it. Like you, Jessica, I'm talking a lot tonight. Yeah, so the focus of work, Nick's on that committee, several administrators, principals, Amanda, library and learning commons staffers and teachers are all in there. And the big focus of last year's work was teacher and staff training on AI, not specifically the IT department, but everybody, particularly student-focused, student-facing positions, because that's where a lot of the like day-to-day conflict is the wrong word, where AI is being confronted by the school, or the school's confronting AI head on as classroom-related stuff in a lot of ways. And so there was a lot of conversation about that helped lead. Remember, we approved the AI, but not just the policy, but the contract with, was it school bus? I'm already forgotten which system, or Magic School. I can't remember the exact term. We adopted a school-wide program, as was lots of little ones that you may remember. Again, I'm blanking on the name. But that suggestion of trying to centralize our AI, whatever AI focuses we're doing, both in terms of, student information and safety, right? Because there's a lot of sensitive data that some might feed into an AI, and also to make sure that we're not ceasing to focus on learning and learning results and just like, oh, AI, whatever, right? So I think the idea of using something the school can control in a single place was part of that and came out of that work. So we have not, we had a end of year wrap-up meeting as a group. We've not yet started the New Year's meetings, but I suspect in September we'll start right back up again. And I don't know specifically what our agendas will look like. Amanda typically sets those, but I know that AI isn't going away, and that's been a big part of our conversations. The other part of that conversation was about just the general toolkit of software and tools available to everyone in the district, instead of how can our small p policies, not board policies, but our school policies help make sense of when to use Canva versus this versus that, and how to make sure people understand the tools that are already available to them, whether or not they're AI.
So the other part of this is that we have done a survey of all of our systems. So for example, we have a ton of systems that we use between Parent Square, Incident IQ, Time Clock Plus, Employee Access, vector trainings, and then all the stuff within what we call ClassLink, where everybody is able to access different programs at different levels, depending on what level you are in the district. And so what we've been working on the last few days, and I've been working on actually all summer, is setting up a systems platform schedule for training. So if, for example, the Magic School people need more training in that, then Hannah or somebody from the tech department will host those trainings across the district or in the district so that folks can access and learn more about it. Our technology people, our IT guys, are actually going out into the schools this year, and they're going to be located in our Learning Commons and be working side by side with the Learning Commons staff as well. So everybody's going to be integrated. They're going to be right there as problems come up. And yes, we part of our strategic plan is to train and empower our people. And so that is happening as we move along.
Okay, yeah, that's great. And Hudson, maybe for the agenda, just thinking on how we can best support our IT staff, because it sounds like the forward-facing folks in the school, and you're thinking about curriculum and software and all that, and that's great. But how can we best make sure that our IT department is as cutting edge as possible? What I'm saying is, like, we really need to be prepared for this. It's moving super fast. I'm not talking about anything nobody knows, but yeah, like in the next year or two, we're going to see major shifts in society. So whatever we can.
Typing with me, taking that note, Jessica.
Yep, thanks. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions for Heidi while we're hearing her report? Great. Seeing none, we'll move on to item 10, the board chair's report. Before we get to requests for future agenda items, we just got one from Jessica. So in 2 weeks, on the 27th, we'll have a workshop on committee work and the work of committee chairs. So it won't just be, what does a chair do, but that will be a big part of it. What a committee chair does, will be how the committees work, why the committees work the way they do. And it'll be, I think, not super complicated, and it will feel hopefully familiar, but also we'll all learn some new information as we come together and discuss that, and some strategies on committee work and whatnot. So everyone can come with their thinking caps on, and that'll be fun. At present, we don't anticipate a need for a special meeting, but obviously if we need to do something beforehand, we will. And then something I was going to propose to you guys, a slight adjustment in changing the way we do, and this is something I know Gregory is aware of because he and I were both on the same parliamentary Zoom training several months ago, which is this. This is a little thing, but again, little things can help us out. When a committee brings something forward to the board, that motion is usually made by the committee chair, right? Our practice has been to do that, a member of the committee at the very least. And when that happens, you don't need a second because the committee is already more than one, at least at our district, every committee is at least 2 people. So the committee's representation is already more than one person by default. So we don't need to second that motion. The member of the committee could say, on behalf of the policy committee, so moved. And then boom, we've got our first and our second because that group of people has already done it. So I was curious, is that something that people are interested in doing? If not, if you guys like what we've been doing, I'm not here to push it. Wanted to present it to you guys as a possibility to sort of just streamline some stuff, since we often do have, stuff coming out of finance, facilities, stuff coming out of policy. I put it to myself as the former policy chair, not anymore, or finance, right? Those are 3 committees that often have a lot of work coming out of them. And, maybe we don't need to have a second in those scenarios because the committee essentially is the second. Any thoughts? Gregory likes it? Anybody not like it, maybe, is a better way to ask. And we can always do it, and if people are like, this feels weird, we can stop. I mean, it's one of those things. But the parliamentarian who led the training, Gregor and I are both like, whoa, that's interesting, because we talked about it afterwards. And I've been doing some reading, and sure enough, that is correct. It's not just this one guy who says it. It's sort of the way that is able to work. And there's another point along those lines. We are pretty casual about our parliamentary procedure, and I'm glad we are. I think that's a better way for us to work. But just a point to remember or keep in mind is that the person who makes the motion typically is privileged to speak first. So again, if you're the committee chair and it's your committee business, it's good for you to be the one making the motion so that you can say, here's what I want to say about it. And again, we're not hard and fast, but that's sort of a nice way to stay in line with best practice. So just a little general comment and thought there. So are you guys cool if I try tonight? And what I will say is, so let's say Haley says, on behalf of the policy committee, so moved. I'll say, great, moved and seconded by Haley for the policy committee. So there'll still be a second recorded in the minutes. It's just part of that initial motion. Make sense to everyone? We'll give it a shot. And if the feedback is bad, we don't have to keep doing it forever. And then with that, any other future agenda items? I've got one from Jessica. Anyone else have anything tonight? Yes.
MSBA, I was reading because they kindly send me a lot of email.
They do.
They had let's see if I can pull it up. Delegates supermajority approved draft priorities. Hudson, you probably know a whole lot more about this than me. They came up with 2. Number 1, expand developmentally appropriate K-12, PK-12, experiential learning opportunities that connect academic learning to real-world experiences through professional development, curriculum, and community partnerships. Number 2, focus on creating multiple pathways for PK-12 exposure to career options and meaningful experiences to develop life skills that embed and reinforce core learning standards using a tiered grade band approach. Just wanted to throw that out there as a potential thing to discuss.
I think at our next meeting, we're going to be talking about guidance to give to our delegates for the MSBA Delegate Assembly anyway. So that will dovetail nicely into just talking about some larger statewide discussions. And that sounds great.
I know we've used it a bit in the district, but I don't know, but maybe exploring it as a looking at it through a financial lens as well.
That sounds very smart to me. Thank you, Jessica. All right. Unless anyone else has got anything, we're going to move on to the committee reports, item 11. We'll start with item 11.1, the Facilities Committee. Who's our chair? Oh, I'm shocked. Andy, take it away.
Thank you, Hudson. I think we're good. Is this on?
There you go.
It's on now. Try to summarize this as best I can. So we've budgeted for fiscal year 27, 600,000. We still have about 600,000 left over from the middle school bond. So Sean has had to get creative with how to incorporate, our capital projects and utilize those funds as we go. So if the numbers seem a little weird, Sean is getting creative with, how the money shifts around with his major maintenance and his capital budgets, but he seems to be doing a very good job juggling the needs. So far he has, approaching 500,000 worth of projects lined up for fiscal year 27. 130,000 is roughly ADA, walk improvements, perimeter fencing, dealing with adult ed in the center. It was identified as a need on the Harriman Facilities Master Plan. Also on that plan was 350,000 worth of roof for the adult ed. This is a space that not a lot of money was identified to go into as part of our facility master plan effort. So funding it out of our, current capital seems to make sense as we're looking to go to referendum at some point for more holistic approach to the rest of our buildings. So that's why he's shifting some of this money that we have into here instead of, a lot of our schools that are seeking a bigger improvement overall. He's had to put some of the community schools projects on hold as we're navigating the facility master plan stuff, because it doesn't make sense to spend a pile of money on something that may be knocked down. So he is shuffling those and being diligent with those. The district office is going to benefit from some improvements. I think there was 80,000 with separating the domestic water and fire suppression system coming soon. Also, the roof project that I mentioned, the 350,000, that's already gone out to bid. We've received them. That's moving forward. That will hit either fall of 26 or spring of 27. They don't have a schedule yet, but that is moving forward. And then we have some middle school carpeting that was done over the summer, 65,000 there. And Sean's looking to do some painting as well to get that incorporated to finish out some middle school needs. And then we get into the conceptual design phase with Harriman stuff. There's 300,000 roughly slated for continuing contract with Harriman to develop concept design and get us, through some forums and to referendum at some point. So that is a motion on the floor a little later in our agenda. And Sean just wanted to point out also that our capital construction fund may need to shift about 100,000 to cover some of that Harriman work. So we're trying to split that 300,000 over 2 fiscal years. So roughly 150 this year, 150 the following year to cover that continuing effort. And, so we have it budgeted for this year with that shift between funds. So he can cover that. I think that is it for capital improvements.
Oh, is that all?
So, yeah, I have a couple of other items. The notification, and you'll see some of these reports in the facilities onboard information. So Sean did attach the numbers there so you can see it. If there's any confusion ever how things get juggled in between the columns, let me know. He does a good job tracking them, so and can always explain. But the notification of abutting property work. So at Woodside, there's a property, I think, just to the north of the school. A little bit of tree removal is planned by the property owner. Apparently, there's some large trees that are also on our property that overhang this property. They brought that to us and we gave it a thumbs up at a committee to, the property owner was hiring a licensed tree removal company to come in and do their work. It made sense for them to, for free, they're going to take ours down too. So it wasn't a big loss of tree cover or buffer for our property, so it made sense. There's also another small property that abuts the middle school property near Liberty Circle area off Can-Am. I don't even know if I'm pointing in the right direction. It's that way. Sorry. But there's some soils remediation going on. I guess some lead and some form of hydrocarbon. Stuff was being stripped, I think 6 inches of topsoil. So just an awareness. The abutter said, hey, we've got this work going on. So if anybody asks, we do know about it. So it's happening. And then the third item was just to discuss the Harriman contract, to authorize the superintendent to move forward. Talked about this last board meeting. The committee felt like we wanted to bring this forward. Everybody gave it a thumbs up. Still gave it a thumbs up the last meeting to continue the effort to go into concept design. So we still have committee support for that. But the administration is looking for a board vote. So that's why it's on the agenda tonight. So I just wanted to be clear about that. And I think that's it, unless anybody has questions.
Looks like we're good. Thank you, Andy. I don't know why my mic fell down, that's why. Looks like we're good. Thank you, Andy. A lot of good work. I know facilities has been incredibly busy the past year plus, and will continue to be busy for the next year. So thank you very much for that. 11.2 is the policy committee report. Kim asked me to speak on her behalf. She is the newly elected chair of the committee. But I will say, if anyone else from the committee would like to speak first, I'm happy to defer. But if not, I'm certainly ready to speak. So I will speak then. We looked at a calendar. So most of the meetings for the year have been scheduled. The idea was sort of to focus on treating the 2026 dates as pretty firm and revisiting the 2027 dates, but there's something in place for everything. Andy, I've not had a chance to reach out to you, but there is a potential double booking for policy and facilities that we might want to coordinate on a fix, but it's not urgent for tonight. And then, yeah, we took a look at the cell phone policies based on state law changes to the student cell phone policy and based on recent experience with the employee cell phone policy with trips. We had a very good deep dive on wellness, still not done. That policy is the result of a lot of hard work. So I think the committee is taking its time to treat it appropriately. And we got through a good chunk of the athletics policies that were recommended to us by the athletics committee. 2 of them you will see in the items down below under new business are existing policies that we're just updating to make sure we're staying up to date with the MSMA sample predominantly and didn't reflect a lot of wordsmithing or adjustments. But other ones resulted, are based on MSMA samples, but the athletics committee and then subsequently the policy committee put some good effort into making sure they were tuned for our district's needs. So you'll see a lot of that coming tonight. There's more athletics coming up in the future and wellness, and then we'll start tackling some new items off the to-do list. So that's the policy committee report, unless anyone has anything to add. All right, next we'll move on to the Region 10 Cooperative Board meeting. Would someone from that cooperative board like to speak? Mary?
So we had a special meeting because of the Melmac grant that Doug Dumont, who's the vice superintendent over there, is supervising and heading up, and they got accepted for the 5-year grant. And then they also are now looking to hire a person to fill the role of the ELO coordinator, which is an extended learning opportunities coordinator. So this is a pretty exciting grant because basically what they're doing is trying to reach all the way down to the middle school to make kids ready to be in the workforce when they get out, and studying and basically looking at all the different parties, including the business community and getting and forging relationships and partnerships with all of these people. And I know everybody's kind of familiar with the idea that they're working with Maine Maritime and Bath Iron Works and that building over there. And this is sort of forwarding that to really look into getting the schools involved with it, getting their input on coordinating these kinds of relationships with people and with the business community and with the parents and with the community, and to look at what kinds of things middle schoolers will need to start getting prepared. And they'll be really moving into some of the high school curriculum pieces, just to start out there. And with this new position, I think they're really starting to iron out the details on how to really get the whole piece moving forward into coordination. So kids, when they get out of school, will be well prepared to jump right into the workforce. So these are just some, and that was sort of, and if you have anything to add, Joaquin, you could add. I know you were there as well, so if there's anything you came up to, it was a short meeting. It was just Doug Dumont giving it report, but I know that you were there too, so I don't know if you wanted to add anything.
The only thing I wanted to add was that they had a really good plan, and they want to get into the schools at an earlier age to get the children more involved early, that this is an option, not something they first learned about in high school. So the plan was very robust, and they had a really good use for the money. So I thought it was a really good meeting.
5-year plan.
That's fantastic. Jessica?
That is awesome, I want to say, because I've been asking personally, showing up at meetings for years, saying we've got to get this to the middle school. So I am thrilled to hear this. Do we have a rollout date idea on when it might be like an opportunity for our students at the middle school level?
I think right now they basically have to hire the person. That's what they're doing right now, and they haven't really hired that person. Once that person is hired, they will probably start coming up with the details of how to meet with middle school people and figure out what is needed at that point. So
Yeah, year one was one hire, then the second hire was year two, and they
Yeah.
wanted to start building demo kits so they can bring it in for all different trades and be able to demo to middle school, elementary school, get it in there. And
That is awesome. Yeah, both the board and Region 10, when in their presentations to this board, have been very interested in trying to find ways to get to the middle school. So it's really exciting to see it start to happen. That's great.
absolutely.
Awesome. Anyone else, any questions or comments? All right, well, we will move on. Thank you both for reporting on that. Item 12, old business, there is none tonight. So we can move on to item 13, new business. We're going to start with item 13.1, and Evan's going to be ready to talk to us about it. But before Evan talks, let's get our motion on the floor. And since Amy's not here, Gregory, would you mind reading to me the motion language, or would you mind making the motion with the motion language in the exhibit? Putting you on the spot with no warning.
I move that the vote entitled Vote to Authorize Lease Purchase of 3 New School Vans in the principal amount of $138,663 be adopted in the form presented to this meeting.
Moved by Gregory. Do I have a second? Seconded by Mary. With that, Evan, tell us all about it.
So this is great. I know it says 3 vans here, but we actually have the opportunity to get 4 vans. 3 of them will be financing. The 4th one, the state is going to pay for 100% for our pre-K students. So that's great. So we are looking to get 4 vans, but 3 of them we will have to finance. The one we are getting from the state is one of the handicap lifted vans. So it has the access to put a wheelchair on, it lifts it up and roll right in. And that's great because the students in pre-K will be able to have that van for 8 years, 10 years as they age up through our school, which is incredible. But this is about 3 vans. One of those vans is for the new facilities HVAC coordinator. They need a work van to put their tools in so they can service all the boilers. That's a ProMaster van. It's a Dodge product. The 2 other vans are just normal minivans. It would add to our fleet of Chrysler and Dodge minivans that we have within our district. Specifically chose Dodge products because we already have a fleet of Dodge, so we can use parts and maintain the fleet a little bit more easily that way. And the financing side of it, it is a 5-year lease for all of these, lease to purchase over 5 years. The interest rate, as indicated in this document, is 5.2. It's gone up a little bit. I don't know if anyone's been following the economy lately, but interest rates do continue to rise. When we purchased school buses back in February, they were around 4.45% of an interest rate. So now it's gone up a little bit. The good news here is that we were planning on purchasing 2 full-size school buses and 1 minibus. The state has pushed back on us saying we approve 1 school bus and 1 minibus. So that allows us to purchase that ProMaster van and we'll actually have money left over in the end if it all works out appropriately.
With that school bus change, is there any, is our fleet is okay to absorb that 1-year deferment on a replacement?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, they just recommend, get through it. It has lower miles than what they want to approve. I think it has 120. They approve 125.
We're shooing for next year.
We're shooting for next year, and it's also at 9 years instead of 10 years,
Gotcha.
which is
Thank you.
as you know, their criteria. So overall, this is about the vans. We are still waiting on O'Connor Bus, which is our van or our bus vendor. They're the ones who put the order in for us, and then they manufacture the vans or the buses down in Georgia, and then they send them up here. Those are on the factory line right now, our full-size handicap bus and a minibus. So the financing we'll have to do at a later date, but this is for the vans that we talked about through the budget process earlier this year.
Great. And just for clarity, this motion is about 3 vans. There's only 3 vans need financing. The 4th van is being provided by the state and is not required.
Correct.
Excellent.
And that's the most expensive one too.
Love it. We love that very much. Any questions or comments for Evan? I see Joaquin.
How long do the minivans typically last us?
Usually about 8 to 10 years. The ones that are on the road right now have around 180,000 miles. We're trying to replace 2 of them. One of them is limping along. The other one's out of service. So the 2 vans that we're going to be using for our transportation department are they need replacement pretty bad. So they last around 10 years.
Not bad.
Like I said, 180,000 miles and they get daily use. A lot of these vans, they'll go down to Biddeford and back. And then they'll go down to Biddeford and back again on the same day to pick up that student. They'll drop the student off and then pick up the student. So
My almost 10-year-old minivan has 127,000. So you're definitely racking up some miles. There's no doubt about it.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments for Evan? All right, seeing none. All those in favor? Opposed? That is unanimous of those present. Thank you, Evan. Get us some good vans.
Absolutely. The van's going to be, if Bart's not here to ask the question, but one of the vans is black. The other one is, I think, midnight silver is what they call it. So
seems acceptable.
You'll see those on the road soon. Oh, the ProMaster is white too. So.
Okay. Like a Sprinter van style, right? So
Yeah, but they're not yellow. So.
Well, they're not buses, so I think we'll get away with it this time. Thank you, Evan. Get out of here. All right, we've got a couple policies. So I would invite any member of the policy committee to make a motion on behalf of the committee. So that will be item 13.2 to consider a first reading of revisions to existing policy IKFD, awarding of high school diplomas to veterans of World War II, the Korean conflict, and the Vietnam War era.
So moved.
On behalf of the committee? Excellent. Moved and seconded by Gregory on behalf of the committee. Now, Gregory, you got first speaking position. Is there anything you'd like to say beyond the cover sheet? Cover sheet speaks for itself. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is unanimous of those present. Thank you very much. Gregory motioned first and second. What was that? You, Frank, will finally, it's possible. Although actually, we already have this on the books. This is just an update. You could get your diploma anytime you want. It was moved and seconded by Gregory on behalf of the policy committee. Item 13.3, to consider a first reading of revisions to existing policy JICJ, student use of cell phones and other electronic devices. On behalf of the committee. Thank you, Haley. Moved and seconded by Haley on behalf of the policy committee. Haley, do you have anything to add beyond the cover sheet? Nothing to add. I would just say again, we looked at it to make sure we're in line with its requirements of the state law. It is. We did a little tweaking based on 1 year of progress. And I'd also add that we want to give this district a little more time of firsthand experience. We might make some adjustments regarding practices depending on lived experience. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is unanimous of those present. Thank you very much. Item 13.3, to consider a first reading of revisions to, item 13.4, to consider a first reading of revisions to existing policy GBCC, employee use of cell phones.
So moved on behalf of the committee.
Moved and seconded by Gregory Greenleaf on behalf of the policy committee. Thank you very much. Gregory, anything to add?
I believe this is the one where we just made a policy that for kids who went on, or parents, or employees who went on trips, and it might have been easier to use a WhatsApp or, and we didn't have to make this kind of a rule every time some students and parent employees went overseas, which is kind of in our policy now.
Perfect.
Especially when you're overseas, Parent Square is not the
Right.
biggest.
You all may remember that they came to us asking to vote on an exemption based on a trip to Spain, was it? So here we are. All right, any questions or comments for the policy committee? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is unanimous of those present. Thank you all very much. Item 13.5, to consider a first reading of revisions to existing policy JJIAA, private school students, access to public school co-curricular, interscholastic, and extracurricular activities. Moved and seconded by Gregory on behalf of the policy committee. Thank you. Do you have anything you want to add? All right. This is one of the existing policies, as you can see, that the athletics team asked us, athletics committee asked us to update. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is unanimous of those present. Thank you very much. Item 13.6, to consider a first reading of revisions to existing policy JJIAB, charter school students, access to public school co-curricular, interscholastic, and extracurricular activities.
So moved on behalf of the committee.
Moved and seconded by Gregory on behalf of the policy committee. Any comments? Nope. Any questions or comments from anyone else? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is unanimous of those present. Thank you very much. Item 13.7, to consider a first reading of new policy JJI, MSAD number 75, philosophy of athletics.
Moved on behalf of the committee.
Moved and seconded by Gregory on behalf of the policy committee. Any comments? I'd ask Amy if she had any comments based on the athletics work, but she's not here. I don't know if anyone on the athletics committee has anything they want to add, but assuming not, you're welcome to. I think it's pretty self-explanatory as well. Any questions or comments from the group? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is unanimous of those present. Thank you very much. Item 13.8, to consider a first reading of new policy JJIB, sponsorship and evaluation of athletic programs.
Moved on behalf of the committee.
Moved and seconded by Gregory on behalf of the policy committee. Anything you want to add, Gregory? Any comments or questions from the board? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is unanimous of those present. Thank you very much. Item 13.9, to consider action to approve reallocating funds to purchase risers for chorus and band at MAMS. And actually, there's a specific motion, maybe this time, Mary, why don't you make this specific motion for us? It's in the exhibits, please.
I move to transfer funds within warrant 2, general education as follows: $4,000 from equipment, non-capitalized equipment, regular instruction, and $4,000 from supplies, instructional, regular instruction, MAMS. To the following account, $8,000 to MAMS instructional capitalized equipment.
Thank you, Mary. Do I have a second? So that's moved by Mary, seconded by Frank. Any questions or comments about this? Joaquin?
What happened to the existing risers that we currently use?
Heidi is not in a great position to answer that right now.
I can find out.
But we can certainly find out. This is what these are the risers that the chorus and the music department uses. And we've, I think, all seen them get slowly set up and broken down at performances on the Orion. I think those are the risers in question. I don't know, yeah, so we can get more information about that later.
I can comment on that.
Please do.
Some of those up and taking them down and always, it's a work in progress. They're getting worse. So you need for safety.
Right.
Periodically.
Thank you, Frank. And yeah, since this is a transfer, this is not a new fund request at the very least, which is good, yeah. Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is unanimous of those present. Thank you very much. And I suspect Andy's going to want to move this one, but item 13.10, to authorize the superintendent to enter into an agreement with Harriman Associates to continue the concept design efforts resulting from the facilities master plan recommendations.
So moved on behalf of the committee.
Moved and seconded by Andy on behalf of the Facilities Committee. Andy, do you have any additional comments beyond your committee reports?
The contract is in the, or the amendment to our original contract is in the facilities on board meeting, if anybody wants to take a look at it. The price is 280,000. There was a couple of adders to do some application work for funding, you know, should we get to that level. So all of that is in there. So yeah, just shy of 300,000.
And you said we're doing half of it now, and this is money that was allocated appropriately in Sean's budget to begin with.
Yes, it will be able to finance forward the 150 for fiscal year 28, fiscal year 27. We have it covered.
Great.
Yep.
Any questions for Andy or the committee? Or Heidi? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is unanimous of those present. That's the end of new business. So item 14, our calendar is attached. And we're getting, again, the policy, the committee schedules are starting to get finalized, and we'll start seeing those more regularly put out. As a reminder, I didn't say this at my board chair report, but I will, for any committees that have not met by the 27th, I will schedule micro committee meetings to elect a chair before that meeting, so we'll have all our chairs taken care of by the time the workshop proper starts. There are no executive sessions tonight, so without objection, item 16 is our adjournment. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.